Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jackie, for that introduction. So, as Jackie said, my name is Olayinka Dzama Wilson Kofi. You can call me Ola, you can call me Na, it's fine. And my topic is emerging threats to cybersecurity by COVID-19. A bit about me. So, I'm the business security manager with eProcess International SA. I'm also a certified chief information security officer. I'm also a certified ISO 27032 senior cybersecurity manager. I'm also a certified ISO 27001 lead implementer, and I'm also an auditor for the ISO 27001. I have a background of Bachelor of Applied Science in IT, and I also have an MSc in MIS. My areas of practice are implementation of ISO 27001 and ISO 22301, that's business continuity. I do audits of both ISO, that's 27001 and 22301. I do IT audits, and then I do a bit of security architecture and some training. So let's look at the objectives of our webinar. We are going to look at the what cybersecurity threat is. We would look at the key emerging threats, during this COVID-19. And then we would look at the impact of COVID-19 to organizations. And then we would look at the mitigating these threats that we've identified. As an introduction, I would say that COVID-19 pandemic, is causing a lot, not just in the health industry and all that, but for cybersecurity as well. The impact and its likelihood is increasing the cyber attacks, and a lot of my fellow professionals are all up and doing just to curb these cyber attacks. And this is also making organizations respond promptly to their various operational and financial challenges, because you need to ensure that as an organization, you have your critical services up and running, because you don't want to lose your customers during this pandemic. We are all worried, and this worry is bringing about the craving for information. And the safety of this information and support, is critical. And I would say data is expensive now. And with all the emerging threats, we have attackers who are exploiting all this to their benefits. We'll be looking at them as we go on. So what is cyber security threat? I would say it's any malicious attack or a mischievous attack by any person or a group of people just to gain access to another person's information. And if I say information, I mean data. It's either to corrupt the data or to steal confidential information and probably sell it to a competitor. That is what cybersecurity threat is. And as I have said earlier on, it is on the rise. We will be looking at the key threats during this COVID-19. We have cyber fraud. It's a crime, just like any other crime, but this time around you are using the computer to commit this particular crime. And what is the intention? Is to steal individuals' information or a company's information. It can be personal or financial, that is stored online. And I'm sure a lot of you out there, if not all, store your information either on iCloud or Google Drive, and what have you. And these attackers are using various means to get this information. And when they get them, they end up, holding all your data, and you need to pay a ransom before they're going to release it. And so there's a need for organizations or individuals to be alert and protect their information from these attackers. And I would always say that you should be careful the kind of information you put out there. On the social media, you tell people where you are, what you do, or every detail about you. Definitely, they're going to use it against you. And cyber fraud has increased due to COVID-19 and especially people working from home. We also have phishing. And it's also a cyber crime, as I've said earlier. And most of the time, the target is done through email, telephone call, or SMS. And it would definitely, sometimes it comes from an authentic, posing as an authentic organization, and it's going to lure an individual. So let's say it can pose as your bank or your insurance or something, and you would think this is my authentic insurance company. So when they ask you for details, let's say your credit card details or banking details, you easily give such sensitive and confidential information to them because you think it is them, but apparently it is not them. So these fake, these attackers end up using these details they've gotten from you, to just go clear, if it's to clear your accounts and then to hold your data at ransom, and you need to come and pay a ransom before they're going to release your information. And phishing is also on the rise. And then we have the malicious websites. I'm sure we are all worried about the numbers, want to find out what is happening in, let's say, US, UK, France, especially with the second wave of the virus, which is causing some countries to have a lockdown and all that. I'm sure everybody's worried and everybody's reading and everybody's on the internet trying to get information on COVID-19. So these attackers have created hundreds of fake websites, and these websites are providing misleading information. And what these sites tend to do is they find vulnerabilities in the visitor's web browser. So as you browse, either you're using IE or you're using like Internet Explorer or you're using Chrome, they find a vulnerability in your web browser, and then they install their malicious software, and this malicious software is designed to steal information. Some also encrypt your data, and then they'll hold your whole device at ransom till you pay something. And this is what is currently going on. It hasn't stopped. And then as we talked about the websites, they are also creating malicious apps. They will create malicious app, and let's say a fake app, and the intent is to provide information on the spread of the infection or the COVID and all that. Once you download it onto your device, let's say your phone, your tablet, or what have you, they hijack your phone or your device and they demand a ransom. So they can lock your screen and then you can't do anything, and they will ask you to pay a ransom. And these are some of the things that they are doing. What is the impact of all this to organization? So we have employees working from home, which organizations have been forced into this, and these come with some kind of technology support. So if you have employees working from home, organizations would love to be able to monitor what employees are using their working time for. So employees don't just go and stay home and say, I'm working while they are not. So some would have to buy applications to monitor the quality working time of employees. And then another burden on organization is to also probably, if an employee is using, let's say, a desktop, you now say the employee should work from home. You need to definitely provide a laptop. And it wasn't part of your budget, but COVID-19 has brought all that. And if you are not able to purchase the laptop for these employees, you would have to probably then let them use their personal laptops with all the security features of an official laptop. And then, it all comes as, let's say, policy and procedures that are in place in the organizations. And these were all not planned for. And then the impact is also affecting critical services. You wouldn't want your service to go down during this period, else you're going to lose your customers, because businesses are being disrupted due to this. Others are folding up, Others are just laying people off. I mean, no one planned for this, no one saw this, and it's causing a whole lot of disruption in the business. I mean, to almost every sector, and I'm sure probably we're all looking forward to it ending soon. But I mean, with the second wave of this virus, we really don't know how soon this virus is going to be there and how soon it's going to go. So you definitely need to know the impact and how to mitigate these impacts. There's another impact on hiring because people are being laid off. People are not hiring because, I mean, working remotely is the thing now, I would say. And companies, a lot of companies have just put hiring on the freeze, and there's going to be an increase in unemployment. And all these are all, I mean, the impact that COVID-19 is bringing to most organizations, and it's quite worrying. Now, let's look at some ways we can mitigate these threats. So for me, the key thing is always, I mean, the weakest link in your organization is the people. So you would have to increase security awareness for your employees. So if you can have a daily flyer that's sent to their emails or their desktop screens or laptop screens, screensavers of the, I mean, all the tips you can think of doing this, I mean, on phishing, on malicious apps, on malicious websites, so that your employees would have, I mean, they will be daily briefed or be abreast with what is happening. And then preferably, you can also set up a two-factor authentication for all your remote access accounts to ensure that your users, I mean, your employees are the ones actually accessing these portals. And then I would also say you don't just say go and work from home. You need to have a guideline. Employees need to know the lay down rules on working from home and accessing remote working solutions so that they'll just go by it. Everything should be documented because we don't really know when this virus is going to end, and we don't know if for some organizations, working from home is going to be the new normal, as I would put it. So if it's going to be something that you are going to adopt, you need to have a guideline, a documented something that people would follow through. And I mean, you need to explain to them, let them understand the guidelines, and then they will be able to follow through. And then I would also say you need to encrypt your data at rest. So data that is sitting on endpoints, when I say endpoints, I mean laptops, which are being used for remote working and all that. I mean, the risks of data being stolen is on the high now. So you encrypt the data that is sitting on an employee's endpoints or laptop. And if the employee is using their personal laptop, then you would have to have all the security features of an official laptop to ensure that data on that individual's laptop, personal laptop, is encrypted. And we're also looking at data in transit. If employees would be working, sending data all over the place, you need to encrypt the medium in which the data is traveling. You need to encrypt it. You don't want any man in the middle attacks, any attackers coming in between to just steal this data. So you need to encrypt both data at rest and data in transit. And then it is best to proactively identify technical vulnerabilities, because if you don't identify these vulnerabilities, attackers are going to use them to exploit your system, and then it would go against you. So if you are able to identify them early, you would be able to mitigate them on a timely basis before the attackers would even think of it. And then I would also say we should, if we can, you disable USB ports. Some organizations, I mean, most organizations have audited, have all these disabled. So you avoid the transfer of viruses from one USB stick to the other, to the machine and all that. And then ensure, I mean, this is a very key thing, your critical patches, security patches, I mean, they are operating systems are always having updates. You need to ensure that your security patches are up to date, your firewall is updated, your antivirus is updated across the group, across the entire organization. You don't just do individuals or anything, but ensure that everybody's endpoint is up to date. You don't just look at the endpoints, you look at your servers and all that, so that you would have the current security patches, which obviously the attackers are always trying to break. So if you don't have a current one, then you would be behind, and then you will make your organization vulnerable, because they're going to come through that weak link. And then we also obviously talking about critical services here. You need to back up, because you don't know. I mean, we don't know what is going to happen. So you need to have an updated backup. And having updated backup, you need to validate its integrity. So after backing up, you need to also ensure that what you have backed up is exactly what you wanted, and it is up to date. So you don't just back up and leave it there. Then when there's a crisis, you just go, you pick it, and you realize this isn't what I wanted to back up. So after backing up to date, you need to validate it to ensure that this is what I want, and this is the data that I want to back up. And then you need to also be careful. This is to individuals, and then it can be um, in the daily emails or screensavers to employees. Be careful the links and attachments in emails, and let's say SMS, because I mean, it's all over the place. The attackers are sending these links and attachments in mails, SMS, the calls. So one has to be careful the kind of links they click on or the attachments they open. So if you have you get a mail from, let's say, anyone, and then you see an attachment, you don't just jump into it. You need to be sure before you open the attachment. And I would say that once you are not sure of an attachment, you don't open it. Even if you're not sure of the mail, you don't even open it. And then you can report to your system administrators and all that, and then they will take it up from there. We also need to strengthen our remote access policies. If you don't have I mean, there's opportunity to always draft one, procedures, how it should go about. And it's in line with the guidelines from working from home. So that, I mean, you need to update it. I know some organizations have it, they haven't updated it for a while. But with COVID-19, you don't want to leave loose ends. We need to tighten all loose ends. We can't have 100% security, but we can definitely mitigate these threats. And then I would also say you secure your supplier portals. We have some organizations who deal with suppliers, and they have a portal they share. And it is best you have a multi-factor authentication, so that a supplier would be the exact supplier you are dealing with, not someone who went standing and then you realized you've paid some money to a supplier who doesn't exist, but was posing like someone who really existed. And this also talks to strengthening the financial and treasury controls in making payments. They need to do proper confirmation, because in this COVID-19, physical meetings have been prohibited in some organizations, and you definitely have a lot of calls and emails on payments and all that. So they need to ensure that they've done a proper confirmation before any payments is made, else you end up paying so much to these attackers. And then another thing is, before you install any app on your smartphone or your tablet, you need to be careful. You need to be sure of what you are installing. And for me, if you are unsure of anything, then don't install anything. Don't install anything on COVID-19 app, COVID-19 website, or anything. If you are unsure, then don't just install. You can leave it, and then I'm sure you have an information one way or the other. You don't have to install any app to just come, and then you end up having a malicious app, and the attackers are just going to use it against you. They will just freeze your phone and lock your screen, and then come and demand a ransom. And then another thing is, I would say you visit trusted sites for COVID-19 information. And you don't just go visiting all sites. I mean, there are trusted websites out there. You need to be sure of the site you are going to. As I said, there are malicious websites out there. You need to be sure of whichever one you are going to. In conclusion, I would say COVID-19 is driving a magnificent change in how you and I are working, in how your organization is working. People are working from home. I mean, some offices are closing up, doing everything remotely. You can't you can't just be there and say you're not going to change. You would COVID-19 would force you to change the way you are working. And it is best, as we always say, you need to mask up, stay safe, social distance, and all that. As you are protecting the body, I would say stay secured as well. Because after protecting the entire body and everything, and then your data is out there, these attackers are going to ruin you. So I would say stay secured as well, as you are staying safe, you are maxing up and all that. Stay secured. Thank you very much. Now I'm open to questions from our online delegates.